Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at crashing. And basically, crashing occurs, for example, when you're a manager of a project and you want to complete something a bit shorter than originally planned. So therefore, you have to recalculate the completion time, and that is what we call crashing. So examples could be you employ more staff, you get alternate materials, weather's going to change stuff. It's just something that can allow you to complete the activity in a shorter time than usual. Now here's let's look at the activity network here, and what we can see is that if we're going what's it called, I shouldn't say what's it called, the critical path is here. It's actually red for a reason, but I just want to highlight it again. And that will give you a completion time of 13. And for example, if you have, so that's D and E, but if you go A, B, and C, you can see that that total time would give you is 9. So potentially, if, depend on money situations or whatever, if I went, say, took two hours off that, that became 5, and I took 2 off that becomes 4, I'd have 9. And then I've got now essentially 2 critical paths, but they're both finishing at the same time. Or it could be that you might take 2 hours off of D and you got, it drops it down to a completion time of 11. And that's essentially the idea in a sort of base level of what crashing is. Can get harder though. So let's have a look at this example here. And look, I did keep the solutions here because I'm not going to do all the determination part because that's just going to take too long and I don't want to do that now. But basically here, community centre is to be built on a new housing estate. 9 activities have been identified in the project. This is the activity network shown and the resulting weeks for each section. So first 3 parts were, find the minimum time of weeks to complete it. So, get our finish time over here, determine the slack time for activity D, write down the critical path of the project. I'm going to go to results for that because that's in a separate video. We don't need to do that in this particular video. All right, the key out part here is the builders of the community centre are able to speed up the project. Some of the activities can be reduced in time at an additional cost. So generally, you want to put more people on, it's going to cost more money. But I can change activities A, C, E, F, and G. And which of those activities, if reduced in time individually, would not result in an earlier completion of the project? And so you have to start to look at what impacts on what part of the network can change and what can't change it to speed something up. So if I did go back to here for a sec, if I had 13 finish times, so if I said, oh, let's take 2 off there, that's useless because it's 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 3 is 7, so it'd be 7. So I still have to finish at 13. So I'm wasting my money by putting it on that. So that's where you got, the sort of thing you've got to look for. Okay, so let's have a look. Here's their final product here. So they've done the forward scan, the backward scan, worked out the EST and the LSTs. They've done specifically for D, they've found that it has a float of 5 weeks. We've also worked out that the critical path here is B, C, F, H, and I. And we can see that, just to highlight a different color, bang, 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 there, those bits there, okay? So A, B, C, and this part here coming up to there. All right, so that's the critical path. So, so going back to question D was look for an activity not in the critical path. So that was, sorry, I'm going to scroll back up for a sec. It was which of the activities if reduced in time would not result in an earlier completion of the project. See, look, something that's got a slack to it. I forgot E and F. E, determine minimum time of weeks for the project to be completed now that certain activities can be reduced in time. And what's the additional cost, the minimal additional cost of completing those? All right, and this is based on an exam from 2007. So it's got some, it's useful to be able to work your way through this. So let's have a look. So for D, look for an activity is not on the critical path. Reducing the activity time will not affect the overall time of the project. So we should include D in here because remember we talked about D before, but that's what you're looking for. Just as a straight up sort of question there, you're going to say A, E, I think it was F and G. not D, there's D there, sorry. Okay. So in E, do we have I think here, okay, so the maximum reduction we can do to an A, C, E, F, and G is 2 weeks. So we can't do more than 2 weeks on each of them. So what we're going to look here is maximum reduction is for any activities 2 weeks, reduced to critical path activities by the maximum. So C and F are on the critical path. So C and F are on the critical path. We saw that A and E aren't and G aren't, so you're not really going to want to change those at the moment. All right. So if I take 2 weeks off here, so that becomes, well, in C, I can only do it by, if we look at here, C, so sorry, I just slightly confused myself with that already taken them off. This is already taken off because it's gone from 3 to 1. This has gone from 4 to 2. Okay, sorry, I got myself confused there. And so the thing you need to look at when you crash is when you crash, you can often make a new critical path. Okay, because I'm going to go 4, 4, so that's 8, 12, and 6. So that's going to be, what was it? So we still want to get it to, so 4, that would have been 8, and 8, so it would have been 16. Whereas the new way would have been 4, 5, 7, 9, 15. And I can still reduce this one to 3, because remember I can do it by 2 weeks max, so I can reduce it by 1 week. Okay, so what we can look at is C and F have been reduced by 2 weeks, E has been reduced by 1 week. Each of those activities was $5,000 each, so the minimum cost for this is an extra $25,000. So that's what we mean by crashing. So we've reduced it to 15 weeks from an original 19 weeks. So we've taken 4 weeks off our timeline, but we've had to pay $25,000 for that. So it's a case of which one do you go for, and depending on what your use case is, sometimes you do have to go for a cost penalty to finish things quicker. Okay, so I think what I might do is finish there, and I possibly might do another video with some additional questions. I'll see how I go on that one. Thank you. Bye.